conversation, that bullshittery. And here's sort of my view, and what I love about learning, right? I'm a learning strategist. What I learn about learning is that I truly believe in my heart of hearts that every single person, you don't even have to be an extraordinary person, every single person is one skill set, one relationship, or one resource away from everything you desire. But here's the problem: there's a whole lot of bullshittery in your way. And that is my kind of layman's term for some complicated processes that just makes it easy to talk about. I don't mean to discount this, what's happening in any way. I just like to give it a little bit of a fun, lively way to explore things that can be uncomfortable in some ways. So if you're saying, I don't even know, Susan, what is this all about? This is tune in, right? Lean all the way in with me right now, because I'm actually going to walk you through the science behind why this happens to everyone, by the way. And then we're going to take you through the process of how can you get even better at incorporating these principles into your training programs so that you get more results, more people results past the finish line. Because if we haven't met yet, that's literally my major goal and focus in life. I'm a long-term learning strategist. I've been in corporate training. I run an instructional design company. And in the past 5 years, I've really been seeking to answer this question of what gets in the way of performance, right? We've shifted our whole philosophy from how do I create really good content, which we need to do. But the big goal is why not yet? What's missing? And it's not always a training issue. So if we haven't met, that's me, Susan Gaddy, and this today is definitely for you. So let's talk about the science behind this. So there's a law, you can look this up, and I kind of cited here where I took this from, and I want to make sure that I say their names properly. But there were two psychologists, Robert Yerkes and John Dillingham Dodson. And believe it or not, this comes all the way back to 1908. So I love when we think everything is brand new. It's not. It's not. It's just being re-explored and put back into today's, in today's language. But here's what they found in their study. And I think this is really interesting. So here's performance, right? Weak performance, strong performance. And here's arousal, which is kind of that stimulation or what we would call motivation. Here's the low, here's the high. What's fun about this is that every single person has an optimal arousal that actually drives greater performance. And it's typically this bell-shaped curve here, right? And in the beginning, when there's increased attention and focus on it, it peaks. And then at some point, if we're pushed too far, right, when we're dangling those carrots, and I'm going to put this into, let me make myself bigger here and put this into like the common everyday language. And I'm going to go back to this conversation that I was having. So if you're learning how to become a network marketer and you need to sell all the jewelry, right? In the beginning, when sales is new for you to sell 5 pieces of jewelry is the biggest accomplishment in the whole wide world. But what we tend to do as program owners, because we want to promote how good our program is we celebrate the people who are $1 million salespeople. You know how many $1 million salespeople there are in a bell curve? Like 10%. So if you have 50 people in your program, about 5 to 7, maybe 10% are going to hit that big goal. What are you doing for the other 90% that aren't going to hit that in those shorter time frames? So you see, based on that scenario, what happened here is that what was motivating me, right, being in this program, learning new tasks, being a part of the community, all the things that people love about training, at some point, I hit the wall. Right? I hit the wall. And if you don't show me anything other than the $1 million winner, all of my, I'm going to use my word here, bullshittery starts to come flying out. So for every single person, there is an arc. There's an arc between increased attention and interest to drive optimal performance and just way too much stimulus that's causing me to stop and start, that's causing me to slow down. And for some of us, we just say, I'm out. This isn't for me. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. That's the bullshittery that starts to get triggered. So now that we know about this information, right? let's look at what do we do about this? So I want to show you in layman's terms, because that's really me, right? I'm not the scientist. I rely on the scientists to bring me the good stuff, and it's my job to make it easy and make sense for you. Think about yourself in this space, right? Think about your participants in this space. So we pretty much have a bubble that we live in. Most of us know this as a word called the comfort zone. And our comfort zone is, it's there on purpose, and it's designed to keep us comfortable and safe and secure. And we can move around pretty freely in this space. But as you get closer to these outside edges, right, where you have to actually move yourself out of the comfort zone. And I'm going to move back here just to show you when this happens, right? So in your comfort zone, you're going up this hill. But when you are at the edges of that comfort zone, ready to break through, when you are properly supported, you stay in that optimal high performance because your comfort zone is moving with you, right? You're expanding it. But what happens is if you get pushed too hard, if you reach up for the carrot that's not ready for you, right? Or if there aren't the right tools and resources in your program to support you, then all of a sudden you kind of break out of this safe space, right? Instead of moving this safe space along with you, you end up breaking through, and now you're unprotected is kind of the best way to put it. And when you're unprotected, that's when all of your bullshittery starts to come out. So if I were to describe this back here, when you're on these peripheries, this is really where I see high performance. I love being at the edge of a comfort zone and taking those micro steps past it that push the boundaries of what I believe to be true for myself, but yet I'm safely connected, right? I'm still in a space that feels comfortable. If you get too far out here, you haven't built the systems and mechanisms in place yet for you in order to feel safe and secure there. So there's nothing wrong with breaking out of comfort zone. We talk about this all the time, but why do you want to break something, right? Why do we need to break it? Why don't we make it comfortable and safe and secure and feel exciting and fruitful instead of debilitating? That's the goal here, because here's what happens when you break too far out of your comfort zone too fast, right? And we don't have these safety mechanisms around us, right, that are designed to keep us from safe and harm. All of the things we're most afraid of do come flying out. And I have just some ideas over here for anyone that's like, I don't even know what this means. Susan, how do I, start to figure this out? We do a lot more training, in-depth training on this. This is really a bird's eye view, but these are 4 really good ones that I hear all the time. You'll hear yourself saying things, oh, that's only for people who are fill in the blank. And I am actually, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let me make this a little bit bigger, and I'll share some personal ones for me. And anyone watching now, if you're feeling brave enough and you want to contribute, please jump into the comments and share as well. But let's talk about some limits that you might personally experience. I'm going to share limits I personally experience because I'm never the 10% high performer. I've accomplished a lot of things in my life, but not because it came easy and quickly, right? So whoever was on with me earlier and talked about that persistence, because there's an internal persistence in me that refuses to give up. But I want to make that even easier for myself and for others. So here's things that happen. Okay, so I'll do this when I'm able to fill in the blank. We often believe that fear, anxiety, worry go away when we are brave and courageous. But it's the other way around, people. Worry, fear, self-doubt, anxiety exist for everyone at all times. It's courageous action that lowers that noise, not the other way around. So when you hear things that sound fear-based, anxiety-based, what if, right? Those are all indications that you're simply stuck in one of these bullshittery cycles. And we can fix that, by the way. That's only for people who are. So I'll tell you my big one. I am always worried about am I smart enough? Am I smart enough? So in high school, I didn't do very well in school. I wasn't even close to a straight A student. And sometimes I actually wonder how I graduated from high school. I did go on to be very successful in college. And here's another funny story. In high school, I wasn't even going to college, and you can't make me, right? But I did eventually go on, and I did get my master's, all the way through my master's. And I probably spent more money on self-development classes than the majority of the world has spent in actual, typical education. I am sometimes the smartest person in the room, but there's always that like little self-doubt. And when I get triggered by that, I'll pull back. I'll stop my action, right? That's understanding my limits. That's just understanding who I am. Does anyone else experience any of those? Do you have one of those, right? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yep. The hardest part is like figuring out what they are, because you can change and fix anything. It's breaking the cycles and the patterns, right? Here's one I hear from people all the time. I don't have the right XYZ for that. I don't have the right degree. I don't have the right pedigree. I didn't go to the right school. I don't do that in my job right now. Those are all really, limiting beliefs that are just designed to keep you in that safe and secure, and that nice little bubble. The last one I'll give you is anything that starts with two. Too hard, too much, too big, too small, too old, too this, too that, too young, right? Whenever you hear yourself starting something, I can't do that because it's too, that's an indicator that you're just simply bumping up against this nice little safe and secure cocoon. And I want to show this to you one more time, right? The closer you get to these barriers, the more those types of bullshittery statements will come up for you. Now, what's really awesome is that if you are with a very strong facilitator and leader who is, been educated in this and knows how to help people at all of those areas, right? You can safely and with a lot less stress really help to not just understand what your limits are, right? But to push through those in a way that doesn't re-traumatize you, in a way that doesn't lead to, and I'm going to share a couple of things that I experienced personally and that I saw happen over and over again. So I was in a, I was in a very large training program. Again, I am always investing in myself. I write big checks to invest in myself and in my business. And I was in a program with over 1,000 people. So it's a pretty big sample size. And I noticed, this really interesting phenomenon happening. Again, there were like the quick starts who came into the program. I didn't realize this at the time, but they had already come into the program with a huge base, right? They weren't starting from day one. They were really starting from year 5. And so when they got the training that this coach provided, of course, they made that leap immediately and never looked back, right? And then there's that group in the middle that are in this space of the trial and error. So in every cycle of learning, there is the trial and error. This didn't work. That didn't work. I tried this. This worked from here. I just hosted a workshop the other day for the first time. It was awesome. People loved it. But quite frankly, we're tossing out everything but 2 items and redesigning it, because it's not great the first time. Nothing you ever do, write this down, nothing you ever do is perfect or great the first time. It often takes 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes even more attempts than that. And what happens is, who's guiding you through that, right? What's your psychological state that happens through that? And then there's the third people that, just bump into this, I can't. And what I noticed people talking about in this community, I experienced it for myself, is that it actually started to create some psychological stressors that were causing things to happen within their body. So I don't think for me it's any coincidence that I developed a very acute acid reflux problem over those 2 years, because I was in this constant state of not meeting with success, trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, and feeling very unsuccessful about it. And when we put ourselves or when we put other people into that constant state of stress, we start to see it break down in the body. So we see things like that. We see stress induced. You see it in your companies. We're experiencing it now. The fatigue that happens, the reduction, right, in performance, and just our overall mental health states. I wholeheartedly believe all cycle into this. How often are we fighting against our own bullshittery, right? And to what degree is it creating this in our bodies? So I want you to really, or I should say, I invite you, as a person, like just as a person, to really, like, what can we do, right? This is, I want to get into to wrap us up, and what can we do here from a personal perspective for anybody? Get really good. I'm not going to go through all these. Get really good at hearing those self-imposed limits. So that's this: only when, if then, when I am, right? If you catch yourself saying, oh, when I lose 20 pounds, or I'm to this, right? Oh, I can't do that job. I don't have that title yet, right? Those are all indications that you're just sort of bumping up against a pre-designed automatic pattern of thinking that's just been cultivated in you over years and years and years. So the first thing I want you to really do for yourself is give yourself the gift of exploring your own internal limiting beliefs and just start hearing them. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to have some fun with the term bullshittery, because for myself, I, for myself, calling bullshit on myself was the best thing I could do. It made it lighthearted. It made it not so serious, right? And when I'm working with my clients, helping them to call BS on themselves as well is the best gift you could ever give someone. So get really good at noticing it. And then I encourage you, anyone that's truly wants to accomplish a goal, to hire a coach that specializes in this, or to join a training program that has this type of, we call it the learning architecture in this program. Whether you're creating leadership training, onboarding training, whether you are a business coach, right? It works both ways, but are your programs designed to take people through this? I call it the process of integration. And if you need any of those details, we have lots and lots of resources on those. Shoot me a message, leave me a comment here, right? Because ultimately, in order to achieve the damn thing that you want to achieve, right, and hit those success goals that you want to hit without the stress and anxiety and the re-traumatizing of ourselves, right, we have to understand this process of where are we bumping up against an internal programming that just needs to be rewired. And the process is relatively easy to understand, a lot harder to do, right? So I'll give you the process. It's actually recognizing that it's happened, right? And then with grace and compassion, right? This is where I see people referring to themselves as dumb, calling themselves idiots, oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did this, right? That's the most dangerous thing you could ever do to yourself. We're always listening, right? We're always listening to ourselves, and we're just reinforcing it. So when you do discover something like this, just the opposite of that is to just be curious. Oh, I wonder why that's happening. Oh, that's so interesting. I wonder if that's happening someplace else. Because what you can do then is get to the root cause of what's happening it. Release the root cause, which sounds easy, totally not, right? And then there's a process of just rewiring your brain so that there's a new neural pathway and you're not repeating that same pattern. Because I'll leave you with this last thought, and then we'll do a quick wrap up from this session. But the problem is, the reason this doesn't change is because it's mostly unconscious. Our brains are designed to be as efficient as possible. And so they take repeated patterns and they just implement them on autopilot, like you would a computer, right? You turn on a computer, and it operates and functions the same way all the time because it's on a program. So you got to root out that program, right? Think of it kind of like a virus. You got to root out that program. You got to pull it out of the system. And then you just have to put a new structure in there that becomes your automatic. that becomes your automatic. And so that's the how, but I don't want to discount the fact that it's actually not, it's not an easy, quick task to accomplish on your own. And I really recommend that you invest in a program or work with a coach. I have a lot of great recommendations if there's something that you want to reprogram for yourself. So this is our conversation today about the bullshittery. I am so thankful to everybody that joined in. Remember, I'm coming at this from a learning strategist standpoint and someone that helps other people to scale their business with training. So this means if you're a consultant and you have a group training program or want to start a group training program, I would love to connect with you and talk to you about how we do this through our accelerator program, because I want to make sure that you are not just learning how to sell and market the program, but that you can actually get 85 to 90% of your people to the finish line. That's not really happening in the space, but I know that we can with the accelerator program. And for those of you that are in corporate, that are creating or hiring people to bring programming in, or you're creating programming on your own, we work directly with those leaders to create what we call the blueprint for how that program should look so that you can accomplish all of these goals as well. So I wish you an amazing day. To do a quick recap of everything that we talked about today, where we, operating, I'm just like in my head trying to decide if I want to go back to these slides, but I think it's worth it. I'm just going to do this really quick. Forgive me for like swinging back through here, right? First of all, you can truly have anything that you desire. And if you're sitting out there thinking right now, I'm a crazy person, good. I like crazy. As a matter of fact, I love crazy, because crazy is only crazy until it works, and then you're a genius. So if you're in the journey, right, just keep going, right? Whoever was talking to me earlier about being persistent, keep going. And this is your roadmap. This is your roadmap here. Keep yourself in the optimal arousal performance. And I love crazy too, right? Yep, I'm with you. I love a crazy. Crazy is the best thing you can ever be, right? Optimal arousal of performance is up here. And again, where is that? It's always when you're in your safety zone, right? This is your safety comfort zone. The goal isn't necessarily, I know a lot of people believe that the goal is just to like break all the way through this, and that's okay too. I prefer to do this with a lot less stress, a lot more joy, right? And a lot less stopping and starting, right? That's what happens when you get out here without a safety net. Bring the safety net with you. Keep pushing the boundaries of what you believe is possible for you every single day so that you can rise right up behind it. That's how we keep people safe, right? Because when we push them too far out of that comfort zone and they don't have that safety and protection around them, this is when all of our limiting beliefs, you'll hear people call them, come flying out for you. And the way to solve that, right, is to train yourself to hear them first. So let me know if this was beneficial for you. And again, if you are in the market to create your own training program, I would absolutely love to connect. Please hit me with a comment in the chat here, send me a DM through any of my social channels. We love to connect with HR professionals that are running companies, as well as coaches and consultants that are ready to scale their business with training services. Have an amazing day, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.